Are you okay?
Yahoo!
Nice.
Finish
him.
Tickle.
Hello, my name is Duncan Walla, and my opinions do not matter. Alongside me is my co-host and producer, Jackson Cartwright. Jackson Cartwright, say hello to the people.
Hello. My opinions also don't matter.
Aw, look at you. Look at you. What you're listening to right now is episode 1 of the currently untitled podcast.
Yep.
No, that is not its title. We have yet to decide on a name.
Though that does sound like a podcast title.
Yeah. Untitled podcast game. Which I feel like calling it Untitled Podcast Game actually captures what we're going for.
Yeah.
So, Jackson, tell the people what we're about.
We are the normal people. We are interesting to, like, maybe 5 people. And other than that, we're not the most interesting people.
Yeah, of those 5 people, all of them are our friends and family.
Yeah.
I can count them on one hand. My mom, my Grammy, sometimes my dad. But we were sitting around, and you know, Jackson and I, we're your 2 average Kansas boys. There's nothing too much to us.
Nope.
But we were like, wait a second, we can talk for hours. And people on the, like, they like that on the internet.
Yeah.
Since we have nothing else better to do because we're in the middle of absolutely nowhere. To tell you that's called Kansas.
Yep. We're in the middle of nowhere and nothing's open. Nothing
is open thanks to the coronavirus. Or as I call it, the coronavirus, because I don't want to get canceled. But we decided what's better than to get some mics and talk.
For way too long.
Well, probably like an hour or an hour and a half.
We'll get there, yeah.
Yeah, potentially 2 hours.
Potentially.
Depends on how we're feeling. Jackson, I was just wondering. What's on your mind?
Oh,
as of topics that we decided a week ago in a Culver's.
Yeah, because that's the extent of our planning.
Allow me to be subtle about this.
Over the course of yesterday, and only yesterday, I watched, it only has 10 episodes, but the entire first season of Runaways, Marvel's Hulu show, that is now on Disney Plus, because Disney also owns Hulu now. So they can put whatever they want wherever.
That's good.
And I was like, I wasn't planning on watching the whole season. I was like, I'm going to watch the first episode because I don't know what else to watch. And it's probably not going to be that good. And then I kept watching. It was actually good.
Huh.
Like, I wouldn't have expected that. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Marvel Hulu show. So it's just going to be like the not as good version of the Marvel Netflix shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was better than Iron Fist, which isn't saying much.
Ooh, okay, hot take right there. Personally, I think that the music that the grandma that was listening to on my commute over here was better than the Iron Fist TV show.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not even joking. It was. I think it was Lil Yachty. It was a hilarious experience because I was driving up like onto the exit on 119th Street, and I just hear some horrible trap beat and some mumbling, and I look over and I see like a 95-year-old woman like listening to probably Lil Yachty on like 100 volume.
That's unfortunate.
It woke me up. All right.
But so it was actually it's actually good. Most of the characters are likable or at least complex, and the ones you hate you're supposed to hate, except for actually. And I was expecting this show to be like, okay, it's like, here are the kids. It's going to be about the kids. And it's halfway split between the kids and the parents. And it's actually really interesting because it's kind of like a parallel a lot of the times. But the parents are, like, way more complex. Like, the teenagers are, like, a slightly better written than, like, slightly more complex than High School Musical. Like, they're on that level of complexity.
So,
most of the conflicts are coming from characters liking each other. Like, that's That's it. And then the parents have
that is basically being a teenager.
They're written accurately, just not complex.
Yeah.
And then the parents are all, like, very complex. They all have, like, motives, and some you really like, and some you really don't like. And you're like, there's these two parents that are, like, all the parents are super rich. Except for these two, they're just, like, some random biologists that, like, pick their own mushrooms and, like, make their own, like, bran bars and stuff.
That's the life.
And they're just the funniest people. And it's, like, I don't know why, it's, like, they're just amusing. And then the other, like, character that you find most likable is this dude named Darius Davis, and he is like...
He sounds like a superhero, all right.
No, he is the mob boss leader of the ghetto in that area, and he's like... his reasons for hating the person he hates, that I'm gonna try not to spoil, is...
for all 12 of our listeners out there.
For all who want to watch this. But it's like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's like, and he's not even mad for himself. He's mad because it affected, like, his nice grandma, and, like, he has, like, this family, his son's gonna be born, and, like, they slowly develop him. It's like, oh, this guy is actually pretty nice, and he's kind of like a jokester. He just also happens to run the organized crime.
I love it when I feel bad for my crime bosses.
And, like...
He's just a kid with a dream.
The only other time I've ever felt bad for a mob boss is, like, sometimes Kingpin. But mostly not.
Kingpin is a wonderfully written character.
Oh, yeah. He's like... I was expecting... When I went into Daredevil, I was expecting all the other characters. I'm like, yeah, Kingpin's going to be still well written, but he's going to be, like, just a bad guy. It's like, no, he's a whole lot more.
I think that... Daredevil would be a far worse show if it didn't have Kingpin in it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, like, Season 3, in particular, is my favorite, because it's mostly about Kingpin, right? I could talk about specifically Kingpin a lot, because, I like villains. That's most of what I write and most of what I play is villains. To all those people out there who are not my immediate friends and family who might be listening to this, Jackson and I have been doing theater and acting since I was, like, 6, so I'm going up on 12 years, you?
We moved back here, I was, like, 8, and I pretty much did it, so I was, like, 8.
Yeah, coming up on 8 years. So, we've been doing theater and stuff forever, and I DM for us, because we play Dungeons & Dragons, and that combined, I got typecast as a villain in theater, and I play the villains in D&D, and so most of what I, get to actually... act and play or the villain. So I take a decent amount of interest into people like Kingpin, for instance.
Yeah.
Who's one of the best written, compelling villains.
It's like, yeah, he's doing all these horrible things, but, like, then he's also... But it's weird, the disconnect between people doing horrible things and people who are, like, super, super nice. Yeah. It's like, that you can tell, it's like when you sometimes, like, oh, the villain isn't a bad person. Then you can tell, like, okay, yeah, they're written pretty well.
Well, I mean, we're sounding like edgy internet people talking about the Joker, but
no.
to be more like a little bit more sophisticated about it, whenever a villain accurately depicts human nature, that's when it's something that's really compelling. Because somebody smart before me said this, but every good story depicts human nature. Yeah. Right? And it depicts people being people. So when Kingpin does things that are perfectly well motivated, and you understand why he's crushing that Russian mobster's head with a car door.
Yeah.
Which is just a brutal scene.
Oh, yeah. That's the most brutal part of the entire show that I've seen so far.
And the worst part is, like, the 5 episodes later, the Russian mobsters are, like, the brother of it is, like, cleaning his decapitated body. It's just a really good scene.
Yeah.
But
I remember they cut to that, and I was like, oh, wow, that's... I don't know how he found that, but, like, yeah, he's, like, making it all nice for the burial. That's strange to watch, but you know what? You go for it.
You know what? Brotherly love.
Yeah, it's like, no one else would put that scene, like, and there's like, we'll just go have a funeral scene. And they're like, no, these are the Russian mobsters. We're going to have him just cleaning his brother's body so it looks nice. And I don't even think, they never show a funeral. They just straight up only show him cleaning the body. So it's like, yeah, that's the part that you care about. Mm-hmm.
Well, especially in the mafia, but when it's our funeral.
Oh yeah.
But
our mafia.
Yeah, it's our mafia. I think that's a general way to just look at it. That whenever a villain or series depicts human nature and does it well, people are just like, "Oh, that's really good."
Yeah.
like that.
The villain that I really want to see, and the issue is I don't want to see the rest of the show. I just want to see the villain. Is Kilgrave from Jessica Jones. Because one, David Tennant is great.
Yep.
Two, like I'm like, oh, he's just, from what I've heard, he's like the best part of that show.
Oh, he is. I watched the first season of Jessica Jones with my dad, which for the sexy time parts of that show was a little funny.
How often are those? Is it just like all the time?
It's a couple times.
It's a couple.
There's a few of them.
And that's also a really impressive thing that I think the Netflix shows do well, is they take these characters like Kilgrave, who in the comics is just this purple guy.
Yeah.
But not the FNAF one. He's the purple man.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we're going to take this guy. We're going to stick him here. And it's like, oh, and he's cool. And people like him. And it's like, no one's heard of this dude before. It doesn't matter.
Well, and that's something that the MCU does decently well, is it takes nerd culture, which only two fools like us could enjoy, and makes it popular for the common consumer. Yeah. Which, in all honesty, it should be, right? You look at Thanos is a great movie villain, right? And it's like, why is he a great movie villain? Because he's nothing like the comics. Absolutely nothing like the comics.
So, like, they're not gonna touch Lady Death anytime soon.
And in all honesty, it's surprising how well they did Thanos, because he's such a dumb villain.
Oh yeah.
Jeez, he's so stupid. And because I'm a boy who owns a lot of comics, right? And recently, I got a hard copy volume of what is it? It's not Infinity War. It's Infinity Saga or something. Yeah, where it's the first
There's a lot
time.
of those. There's a lot. That story's been told a lot.
Yeah, but it's the Silver Age Thanos rendition, and Thanos is just a force of nature, but not in a good way. It's a very chaotic set of comics, and it's like, if you like comics, it's cool because Purple Man snap. It's like, wow, that's so cool. It is drawn so well, but it's empty. Thanos is an empty character who's just, I'm a mad titan. Whereas in Infinity War and what's the other one? Endgame, he's actually likable.
Yeah, and he's
a gentleman. And he's voice acted by such a manly person that it's like, oh, I like this man. I imagine him with a large beard, but he just has a nutsack for a chin, you know? Like, that's what his voice tells you.
Oh, gosh. That is something. And I love it when they just stick in the weirdest of characters in the MCU, because they always have, like, that first villain fight. It's like, here's the quick one. And, like, who can we use? I don't know. Who hasn't fought Captain America before? Batroc the Leaper? Let's just throw him in there and make him just this weird pirate who's not French anymore?
He's very subtly French.
He's subtly French.
He's implied.
And then I'm like, oh yeah. And that's actually one of the ones, especially in the earlier Marvel, like pre-make everything funny. Yeah, pre-Doctor Strange. But also like, man, I'm even remembering like pre kind of like Ant-Man and stuff, where everything started going more towards like everything's going to be comedic. Mm-hmm. There was Winter Soldier, all pretty much.
Winter Soldier's a good film.
Winter Soldier's really good.
I mean, and I've been watching more classic films, like films from the 40s and 50s, and just more classics in general, which has inclined me to have a bit more of a sophisticated taste.
Yes.
But there's some of the MCU movies I still enjoy so much.
Oh, yeah. I do really enjoy some of those first couple ones, like First Avengers, Winter Soldier, just all those. It's like, it's not always funny. And it's like, there's a few funny lines, but it's still like a really good movie. And it feels, that a lot of times to me feels way more, even though they're not stylized like Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, where they look a lot more like a comic, these ones a lot of times will feel more like a comic because they can be more intense.
It really makes you feel like a comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes you feel like Batman.
You feel like Batman, yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so then there was something about the first Winter Soldier that I was saying.
I have no clue what you're saying, but
perfect.
A point that I was going to make on it was that the comic book movies, with how they're being produced, they are replacing the Western from our parents' generation so well, because it's like, it's enjoyable, it's funny, and it has a decently good message. Yeah. And it's about a good person doing good things and bad people dying. And it's like, such a simple film in style.
And then you have the modern Western that I've seen, which is about bad people doing bad things and against other bad people who are dying.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Jessica Jones, right?
Yeah.
Jessica Jones is the most unlovable character. Period. I like, the thing is, I know several people in my life who are just as unlovable. And like, that could be depicting human nature as I would, to be consistent with my philosophy about it. But
it's like, but I don't want to see, if bad people are fighting bad people, it has to be done really well for it to be good.
No, there has to be some sort of triumph, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of victory over self. And if you just wallow in your own filth, like, sure, that's accurate to what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily
fun to watch
or inspiring.
Yeah.
I like watching Logan, right?
Yeah.
Logan is amazing, right? It's one of my I think it's tied for my favorite right alongside Dark Knight and Joker. But Logan is great because he's awful for like the majority of the film until he gets a daughter, and it's like suddenly he's like, he warms up and it's like adorable, and then he, spoiler alert, dies.
Yeah, and you're like,
and it's the most heartbreaking thing, because if he just died when he was hopeless and miserable, it would be such a bad movie.
Yeah.
But it's tragic. And he had victory over himself, so really he won. Even though Professor X died. Like, it's such a heartbreaking film.
And
I love it.
That's one of the things I like about a lot of movies, is they definitely, especially when they're based off of a comic line, like the Logan comics, they choose the right things to put in it. Mm-hmm. They put in crazy old Professor X. Mm-hmm. They put in Logan. They leave out inbred Hulk babies.
Yep, and they also leave out blind Hawkeye.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Old Man Logan. I would have liked it. That would have been jumping the gun with combining the MCU
with
and
MCU,
the X-Men films.
Definitely.
Because Logan is definitely the best X-Men film. Period.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt
it's incredible.
That at
Have
all.
you watched Logan?
I haven't watched any of the X-Men ones.
You know what? Fair enough. You're throwing out a lot of bad movies by making that distinction.
But the thing is, some of the movies I'm like, do I want to watch this? But some of the X-Men are so cool. Mm-hmm. Like, one of my favorite superheroes since I was a kid was Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Just because Nightcrawler's cool.
Because he teleports.
Yeah. And also because my library didn't have that big of a comic selection, mm-hmm. and most of, like, the comics I'd read over and over again is, like, the last 3 comics in the Apocalypse one, and then at the end it's like Jean Grey, like, resets everything with Magic Phoenix powers.
Yeah, she comic books the whole thing.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, cool. And I was like, Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse, and then it's like, and at some point, but like, even some of the characters that I'm like, I wouldn't expect to like this character, and I don't even know if he's in the X-Men movies. He might be, but it's like for a short period, is Bishop. I think Bishop can be cool.
Is he Red Laser Teleport or Red Laser Time Travel?
He's the African American time traveling guy.
He's in some of the ones that have
the time travel.
That have Mrs. Hunger Games in it.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, she's in the rebooted ones that have them, but not the bad rebooted ones that have Katniss Everdeen in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a distinction there.
She who shall not be named.
But
in all honesty, Jennifer Lawrence, right? That's the actress's name. Worst part of those movies.
I don't doubt it.
Worst part of those movies. I do not like the movies that she's in.
Yeah.
But
the reason I want to see him is actually I haven't seen any of his movies, but I've heard most of the movies he's in, or at least have either been good or he's been told apart, and I don't remember his name, but he's Professor X in the rebooted ones, and he's Split.
James McAvoy?
James McAvoy, yeah. I've heard he's a very good actor. And
I've only seen him in the X-Men and in Split, and Split's controversial for a whole bunch of reasons.
Oh, yeah. I actually started, because I was on a plane, and I hadn't seen Split, and I hadn't seen Unbroken, but I was like, you know what? Glass is on here, and that's like the only movie on here I really want to watch.
Yeah.
So I watched like the first like 20 minutes of it on a plane. I was like, this isn't horrible. It's an interesting take on like superhero type stuff, and like what it would actually be like if it was like, oh yeah, there's like these three or four people that have like weird supernatural powers. It makes sense that the government would be like, cool, put them in a cage.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I always appreciate a realistic take to things, because then it's more believable.
Yeah.
Right? And it's much more believable to see it work in such a way that it would actually that it could actually happen.
Yeah, and then freaky as heck Samuel L. Jackson just sitting there like slight head tilt.
We don't deserve Samuel L. Jackson. We really don't. He's a pleasure and a delight.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories of how he about comic books is how he became Nick Fury. Have you?
I know the story is that in the Ultimate Comics, right? That was in the early 2000s comic line. One of my favorite comic lines, period. Yeah. All of the drawings for Nick Fury, when they changed him from being white to black, were done to be exactly like Samuel L. Jackson. And
they did it on purpose, yeah.
They did it on purpose because if they ever wanted to make a movie of it, they'd want it to look like... They want to cast L. Jackson in it. But then... Sam like called up Marvel and was like, "Are you using my likeness without my permission?" And they're like, at least cast me.
He's like, yeah. He's like, if it ever happens, I want this. Yeah.
And in all honesty, he's the perfect cast for Nick Fury.
And he's definitely one of those. And it changed the character like along. It's like, yeah, that's cool, and it's nice to It's definitely one of those things where my brain farted. That's fine.
Oh, that's all right. Bless you.
But yeah, it's one of those things with that makes sense, and he's definitely one of those actors where he can kind of get away with a lot of things. Like it's like I'm gonna.
You're darn right he can.
It's like oh, you're gonna make me a Jedi? Cool. I have to be different. Give me a purple lightsaber. Okay, don't give anyone else a purple lightsaber. Whatever you say, buddy, just be in our movie.
George Lucas would just smile and nod. we got Liam Neeson and Samuel L. Jackson. We're good.
There's no way these movies can fail.
There's no way. They're too big to fail. I like how I just made a capitalism joke about George Lucas. But
that's What was that meme? It was a fake Lego set, and it was just George Lucas and several $1 billion, and it was a George Lucas Lego figure, and then an entire box full of the $100 bill Legos.
That's great.
I would buy that though. It's like
George Lucas post Disney.
Oh.
Which, in all honesty, now that we are experiencing the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, which is the sequel trilogy, now that we're experiencing that. Yeah, I'm glad that George Lucas's names are not on the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Because the prequels, while not being nearly as good as the originals, like there's no way to compare them, are still enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right? I like Anakin more than I like Rey.
Yeah, that's just sad to say, but it's true. And I think probably out of all of them, because Revenge of the Sith is just funny because memes, and also because it's so just edgy sometimes, and it's great.
Yeah, and the lava fight is cool.
It was cool, and
enough said.
From the beginning of the arena scene onwards in Attack of the Clones is one of the best Star Wars things ever. That's awesome.
It's a good set piece, right?
And also, as someone who watches a lot of behind the scenes movies, how they did that, it's that's the first time they ever, it's oh, CGI is good now, let's just put smoke in the middle of everything. Let's actually have lasers light up other stuff. The pod racing scene, it's let's just have them slam into rocks and break apart because we can make it look cool now. I seriously think though the least enjoyable one for me is Phantom Menace.
I can see why. It starts slower than all the other ones.
It's definitely slower, and it's not good, but it's not like it's the worst thing ever. It's just, it's not like it's oh, this is bad, and I can talk about how bad it is. Oh, this is just boring.
Yeah, and then it's redeemed by four words: Duel of the Fates.
That was great. And Liam Neeson's pretty good in it. It's he's pretty enjoyable to watch. And then my favorite quote that I've ever heard about Phantom Menace is this guy, he's doing movie reviews, and he was like, as much as I hate Jar Jar Binks, whenever I hear him talk and I remember how much I hate him, it snaps me out of the coma I was in watching the rest of this movie. And I'm someone who likes Jar Jar Binks. I'd be one of the 5 people in the theater if they ever made a Jar Jar Binks movie. It's just me and 5 other people.
You and George Lucas.
Me and George Lucas just hanging out watching the Jar Jar Binks movie.
Oh, man. See, I have a theory, right? Is that to prove that you are a Star Wars fan, you have to hate Star Wars. Right? And that's the longer I live, the more I realize this to be true. We have a friend, Coleman Taylor.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Coleman Taylor loves Star Wars.
So much.
Grew up around Star Wars. It's his favorite thing ever. Oh boy, if you ever just mention the words episode 8 to him,
he'll lose it. Yeah, no.
His eye starts twitching, and if he has a pencil in his hand, he will break it.
It will break.
Right?
If he has like a metal beam in his hand, it will break.
He's full of so much rage. So think about it. I have so many Star Wars fans that you just mention the sequels, and they get so angry. And then you mention, I don't know, the prequels, and they'll be like dead inside. There's
it's great.
The Star Wars fans, they love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they hate it at the same time.
It's great. And that's definitely, I feel like that's not necessarily, there's a lot of people our age that are like that, but I feel like us I was born, I believe...
I was born at a very young age.
Yes. But I think I was born either the same year or the year after Attack of the Clones came out. And I was like, okay, so like, I haven't lived without those movies. It's like, those exist for me. And it's interesting to be like, okay, so instead of growing up watching the first 3, I grew up watching the first 3 and the prequels.
Yeah.
So I probably hate them slightly less than someone who watched the original thing and then went to the theaters and saw the original
Your nostalgia glasses are on a little tight.
I get it. And then I think the thing with the sequels is I appreciate the weird things because I love movie design stuff. Like, when we got the, I think it was the Rogue One. Like,
Rogue One's great.
Yeah, it's great, but it's like the complete novelization, like those books that have all of like ship engine designs and like, here's this random character that you see walking in the background. Here's a name and a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot what those books are called. There's a bunch of them for Star Wars. And like, I'm like, oh, cool. I don't remember anything about this character. It's like, I don't care that they have a name or a thing, but it's like, they look so cool. Like, that's something I've always appreciated about the Star Wars. Just like background character design. Yeah. Like when they're walking through whatever the planet's called in Rogue One, when they first meet the blind guy. It's like, I
can see you truly love it.
It's all memorized. I haven't watched it in a while.
Oh, no, but it's fine. With Rogue One, I don't remember any of the characters' names. I just enjoy it. Yeah. Right? It's a very well contained film, but continue.
And so it's like, oh yeah, there's that background. It's like, okay, I see at least like 3 or 4 different background characters, and they're all wearing similar-ish clothes. And then you go to a book, and it's like, oh yeah, they're part of whatever this religion that has a pilgrimage to this planet. I'm like, that's cool that these random costume designers were like, let's make like similar this or this and this, or design this alien, or stick freaking, what was it? Isn't E.T. in one of the Senate scenes? Like there's a bunch of E.T.s in the background.
Yeah. So you like it when Star Wars is like Star Trek?
Oh boy, I saw one old Star Trek movie. I don't remember which one it was. It's the one where Data blows up at the end. As opposed to there might be multiple of those.
Yeah, all of that I know of Star Trek.
And he also sings Blue Sky, which is really funny. Or Blue Skies.
Yeah. There's a series, there's a collection, I'd say, of television shows that are a blur to me. Yeah. Right? Because I know I've watched them. Yeah. I know I've probably watched them several times. Yeah. I couldn't tell you 2 things about them. Oh, yeah. Like, those are Friends, The Office, Parks and Rec. It's like so many of the Star Treks, because my dad loves them. Oh, yeah. Like he will watch them back to back, and I will be sitting there, and I'll see things happening. I'll be watching it. I couldn't tell you anything about it. Okay. I don't know why, but I cannot remember anything about those 4 shows. I know I watched the first of the new Star Trek movies. Yeah. I know for a fact I watched it. And I think I watched the second one with Benedict Cumberbatch in it. I think. I'm not sure. Because I have this vague memory of like, oh yeah, we're sitting down and we're watching the second one. And like in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, I know. It's like in my brain, it's like, oh yeah, I remember one night we sat down and we watched that movie. Anytime I see a clip from it, I'm just like, I have no memory of this happening. Or it's like, I don't think this happened. Or like, what's going on here? Yeah, what's the Winter Soldier code to wake you up and put you into a murderous rage? Yeah, it's just like, what is happening in the scene? On! But I think that we are like 75 years late to the argument, but part of the argument is like Star Wars is more memorable, Star Trek is more well thought out. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we're not gonna get into that can of worms, because if there's anything Star Wars fans hate more than Star Wars, it's Star Trek.
Yeah.
But
which I can tell. It's like, oh yeah, I can see how there's a rivalry between there. Yeah. But I'm like, both range from good. Star Wars is really good and can be really bad.
Yeah.
I feel like Star Wars is the greatest disparity. It's like Star Wars is either great or horrible, and then Star Trek is just in the middle always.
Well, it's either we are the originals in Rogue One or horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Star Trek is like, we're pretty good to pretty bad. We're in that range.
Well, the TV shows with like Star Trek Voyager, that's the most memorable to me.
Yeah, I feel like those are
Bald Man in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bald Man who will never die.
No.
Yeah.
he and the Bald Man who just proved the fact that no amount of respect is greater than a paycheck, because he voiced a poop emoji. No amount of respect in being knighted beats gosh darn money.
Why did you have to do Patrick like that? I know him like that. I call him Patrick, but Pat for sure.
Oh yeah,
if we're close.
But that is right up. That I think is right up there with Rat is paid $3,000 an hour to eat Kanye West shirts. Is right up that article right next to Sir Patrick Stewart, a knighted man voicing a poop emoji, is right up there with peak capitalism is not knowing if it's satire or not.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. So speaking of that's good, is this podcast still recording? Are we looking
yeah, we're still rolling.
Side?
I've looked over.
Yeah, is Jerry from Statistics keeping it good?
I mean, he kind of, but
okay.
It's also Jerry we're talking about.
Yeah, it is Jerry. So anybody in the podcast, give a shout out to Jerry in the comment section below.
Wait,
where were we posting this again?
I think we're doing Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify.
Okay, we should do a YouTube channel. Just to upload it to a YouTube channel so we can have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That gives us flexibility.
It gives us flexibility. I don't know how it might be the thing where they show up on everything else and then a week later it shows up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so for those who don't know how podcasts work, and this is actually something interesting that I didn't know until like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
There's this fun little thing called Podbean, and it's basically, I think it actually is like a place you can put out your podcast.
Beam or Bean with an N?
Bean with an N.
Ah.
And it's like, oh yeah, you can put podcasts on there. I don't know how you actually get to it or listen to it, but you make an account, and basically you can link it to all these other things, and you release your podcast on there, and it instantly sends it to everywhere else that you've linked it up to. But I don't think it works with YouTube. I think I think it works with Spotify and all the other places where people normally listen to podcasts. You can just be like, oh yeah, hook it up to there. It's on those instantly, which is really nice. It's not like you have to go individually and upload it to each one. Though, if you want,
we'll get Jerry on it though. Yeah. He told us that.
If you want us to upload it to somewhere weird that we don't know about, and you feel like it, and that's where I want to listen to it. Which I don't know how you'd hear this if you listen to your podcast on something that we're not sending it to. But
witchcraft.
Okay.
They pulled out the Ouija board and spelled both of our names,
they're right outside the window right now.
Oh, curses! How did they know? I didn't tell any witches that we were doing this podcast. Jesus, is this you again? Okay, come on, Jesus. Okay.
Whew.
I would say like we need to keep our options open. Like if we if we have a YouTube channel, then we have the option of doing toe reveals, and I feel like that's really how we start becoming successful.
I don't. It's like just for one podcast, instead of it just being like whatever our picture is going to be with whatever our name is going to be.
Pictures of our feet.
Or someone else's feet.
Or somebody else's feet, and we claim that they're our feet. Which I think is even better. All right, I think stealing somebody else's likeness, who knows? That person could be Samuel L. Jackson.
I think that'd be fairly obvious that that's not our feet.
No. Hear me out here. Nobody knows. Nobody will tell. We're gonna end this tirade right here before it goes any further.
Yeah. What else? I hear the weirdest news. Oh, that's a fun news in the nerd world. What's her face that no one knows the name of and no one cares? Who plays Batgirl in the CW? Got hurt like 5 times during the first.
Ruby Rose?
Oh, Ruby Rose. Yeah. Okay. Got hurt like 5 times because of lack of safety precautions during the filming of the first season of Batgirl. and is no longer returning. Like, all of her agents were like, hey, if you want to be able to act and not have, like, permanent injuries, I wouldn't suggest going back there.
Well, no, she was in John Wick too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was totally fine in John Wick.
Oh yeah, no, it's just because it's Batgirl, and it's not Batgirl, it's Batwoman. It's Batwoman.
Yeah.
Who existed in the '60s, and no one cared about her then.
Well, okay. Here's why. As somebody who was a big Batman fan,
yeah,
right. For all the people out there, I've had the same Batman bedspread since I was about 4. All right?
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. All right, I'm a huge nerd. I love Batman. Batwoman is unrelated to Batman.
Yeah,
and upon most axes, right. The only relation is that she sometimes works in Gotham. And she has Bat in her name. Yeah. There's no other relation, all right? Yeah. She does nothing else with Batman. Mm-hmm. So why should you care about this character? Well, she's related to Batman. Yeah. Which works for Batgirl, right? Yeah. She's cool. We all like Batgirl because she works with Batman. It's like a female version of Robin, but sometimes not. And she does her own things. We like Robin. We like Nightwing. We love the Bat family.
All of them. There's so many though. Like I went down the rabbit hole of like the Bat family in Correct Quotes one day, and I was like, what in the? And I was seeing some of the names, and I'm like, and then I looked up these characters, and I'm like, these characters exist. Like even some like not Cassandra, but is it Cassandra?
Cassandra Cain.
Cain, yeah. Yeah. I knew about her, but then there's some of these. There's like this one who like dresses in purple, and there's this one who's like African American and wears yellow. Cains, yeah, and there's this one who's like African American and wears like yellow, and this guy. I'm like, I don't know who you are, and I'm like, and it's like there's so many Bat family ones.
Batman's great. I love it. I will always love it.
Yeah. Which of the Bat children is your favorite? Which of all of the extended sidekicks is the best? So
after reviewing all of them, and after being a nerd for such a long time and loving Batman, Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah,
yeah. it's not even a competition. Yeah. I like all 4 of the Robins.
Oh yeah, no, all 4 of the Robins are great. I love Dick Grayson. He's like my favorite. Recently, mostly just because he's entirely too much fun to play in Injustice 2. And I've started to like look at more and more. Red Hood and Jason Todd I'm like, okay, he's cool and he's edgy to where I find it sometimes he's overly edgy and he's funny, but sometimes he's like edgy to the correct degree and it just wavers. He's never like
correct edge.
Yeah, he's never edgy to where it's like, oh, he's overly edgy but it's not funny. It's like, oh yeah, he's overly edgy but it's funny at that point.
Yeah, he never becomes Titans where it's F Batman.
Oh yeah. And that's one of my favorite some of the funniest fan art I've ever seen is for plot purposes, when you stuck Jason Todd in the Lazarus Pit, it had to age him up, make him more muscular. Because seeing, 11-year-old kid in like a red mask and an oversized trench coat walking around, it's like he's been killing criminals. Yeah. While amusing, does not fit Batman.
Yeah. I could talk about Batman till Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah, no,
which is a great comic book series. But we should get on to the real point of this podcast.
Oh yes,
which is to really tell all 12 of you listening about ourselves. Yeah. All right, because there's nothing I love doing more than talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My arrogance and narcissism has befit me to be an internet personality. Jackson. Bring up the real topic starter that we wanted.
Oh, yes. Wizard of Oz.
Okay, so we're from Kansas, right? Born and raised, personally, in Kansas.
I spent like 4 or 5 years in South Carolina, but it didn't matter. It was still Kansas.
It was Kansas, but north. To give you guys...
No, South Carolina.
It was Kansas, but north, but the south north.
It was south north, yeah.
Yeah, but... To give you guys some reference as to how Kansas I am, I learned how to drive a tractor before I learned how to drive an actual car.
Oh, wow.
That's a real fact.
I learned how to drive a boat and jet ski because lakes. I don't know if that's Kansas or
Speaking of lakes.
Oh, no.
Okay. So,
actually, yeah, that's a fairly good transition.
Wizard of Oz, right? We've both been doing theater. We met through theater. Our families have known each other for like 900 years?
I mean, our parents, or my mom and your dad knew each other in high school.
Yeah, which was like the Mesozoic era.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the shows that we did together was Wizard of Oz. What was that? 2018?
That I have no clue.
The poster is out in your.
It's in our basement. Yeah.
But
I don't have anything on it in here.
The thing about Wizard of Oz, right? So I usually play villains, as I've already discussed. Yes. You usually play comedic side characters.
Oh yeah.
As we've yet to discuss, but it makes some sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. My dream role is the genie, but no one ever does Aladdin. And the one time they did Aladdin, it was a dance show with, like, the original Aladdin plot.
Yeah. So, the place that we work at, that we act at, is Trilogy Cultural Arts.
Well, I don't act.
Well, you're going to act at it in my senior year.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. But, at Trilogy. And one of the shows that we did was Wizard of Oz, because, Kansas. Yeah. And
yeah, but it's crazy that there was that big of a break. Did they do, which was first? The first Wizard of Oz or the first Annie? Which one came first?
First Annie.
First Annie. That still means they did Annie 3 times in between?
We did it 4 times.
They did Annie 4 times, but they did it 3 times in between the Wizard of Oz's.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, though, because I would think, as in Kansas, we do Wizard of Oz way more often.
Yeah.
But then again, everyone's doing Wizard of Oz all the time.
The thing is, to tell the people out there, I hate Annie.
Oh.
So much.
I've
been in Annie 4 times, okay? The most recent time, I had to be bald to be in Annie. I was cast as Daddy Warbucks. For all of those people who aren't theater buffs out there, that's a very bald man.
But you also got to wear a Kingpin suit, and you look like Kingpin.
Well, thank you.
Which was much cooler.
I agree. But back to Wizard of Oz, okay?
Yeah.
So the reason why we're going to be telling this story is because it's just legendary.
It's a whole lot of mess. Where do we start?
Okay, let's start with the cast list.
Okay.
So I got cast as the Cowardly Lion, which was my first non-villain role in a long time.
Very long time. I was cast as the Scarecrow.
Okay, which the moment that we do, toe reveals, you'll understand why it fits our body types and our personalities pretty well to be these 2 different characters. Dorothy was Lake Souls, who
both of us have known for a very long time.
I've known her for maybe we've known her for almost 12 years now.
Yeah.
But the Tin Man was Raleigh Jonas. Shout out to Raleigh.
Shout out to the fact that just saying that name makes him laugh, and you will understand so much. I had a feeling even when we aren't meaning to talk about Wizard of Oz or just theater, somehow it'll be hey, remember when this inappropriate joke was made? And it'll all circle back to him. Just somehow.
All roads lead there.
All roads lead to Raleigh if you're a female.
Yeah, oof. Just an oof. The Glinda was by a new chick, Mackenzie.
Yes. Who also makes you laugh by the name.
Yeah, this is funny stuff. The witch was Jaden, which there's no laughter.
She's
she
great.
did a legitimately good job the whole time.
Yeah, she's probably she was she did good, she did it right, everything's great.
I feel like it's sad that she's the most forgettable part, because I love Jaden.
Yeah, Jaden's great. But it's the reason that she's forgettable because everything else went horrible, so you remember it, and everything she did went perfectly correct.
Yeah.
So it's that was the part that went correct. It's not even forgettable. It's it went good. We don't need to discuss that further. Everything else went horrible.
Yep.
Here's elaboration.
The final part was my boy, Alex.
Oh,
Alex Kaldruma was the wizard.
Wizard, yeah. Now, and then Brady was the door guard.
Good job, Brady.
Who also did really great.
We're a fan of Brady. Brady did nothing wrong. Okay?
Brady also did nothing wrong.
So we prefaced this cast list with the 2 people who did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Those are people, it's they're great. We love them. They did great.
Yeah. So now to the people who did something wrong. Okay, so it all started, I think we should start with Leeds Retreat. Okay.
What even? Yeah.
At Leeds Retreat, there were some funny things.
There were some funny things.
I think one of the funnier things was we both realized that, oh boy, our theater girl's horny. All right. So
is that something we need to write down to censor? Or is that fine?
We can keep that.
All right, yeah.
I've told this story to my mom plenty of times.
Oh, except they are until they aren't.
Yeah.
Except for the ones who aren't all of the time.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but essentially what happened in the Leeds retreat. So the way that it works with Trilogy is that you get cast, then you go out to a campground place called the Imaginarium where we run through the whole show and figure out blocking, and we go back to do rehearsals.
Yeah.
Right. So in that
side note about Leeds retreat, I've talked and done theater classes like at one or two other places. I've talked to people about Leeds retreat, and I talked to this one guy who he was in theater. Shout out to my coterie teacher, Austin. Great dude. He went to a British college theater.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, oh yeah, he knows the theater world.
He's superior to us.
Oh yeah. And
those darn tea bags.
I told him about Leeds retreat, and he along with every other like director I've talked to about Leeds retreat is like, just have a rehearsal with everyone, or just only call the leads to that, because it is funny, because Trilogy has definitely been one of those places where they're like, oh, everyone's important, like the ensemble and the leads, we're all just one big thing. They say that, and then it's like, except for all of you who don't get to come out to the fun woods.
We could talk about that. I personally like it.
I mean, no,
then
I think
I've been
it's
a
fun.
lead. I've been cast as leads because I'm one of the because
old
boy
people. Yeah,
because
boy and also older.
Yeah,
but yeah, no. And the thing is, I think Leeds retreat is like a fine thing, but it's so much more fun the ones where we don't get anything done.
Yeah,
or we get everything done, like Pudge, where by the end of the first day we had blocked everything that didn't involve the rest of the ensemble.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the second day, have fun. Wizard of Oz was definitely one of the ones where we got less stuff done.
I don't think we got any sort of the blocking down.
I think we did the first scene, and then we all forgot it.
Oh, look at that. Okay. We all forgot. Lake remembered it.
Oh yeah.
But the thing about Leeds retreat is, actually, I have a little side note about the casting for any theater show, especially youth theater.
Yeah.
Do you want to know? I'm pretty sure that every director is secretly Kratos. Because they look at a part and they're like, boy. That's how you get cast, right? They just look at you, boy.
Yeah.
But with Leeds retreat, there was some canoodling going on.
Oh boy.
There was some kerfuffling. There was a bit of boondoggling, if you will.
You're making it sound so much worse than it actually.
Well, after this Leeds retreat, they instituted the purple rule, which is no guys are blue. Women are pink, of course, as the patriarchy demands.
Oh, yeah.
And putting them together, you get purple. You don't put them together.
No purple allowed in my good Christian Leeds retreat.
No purpling allowed, which sounds dirtier than canoodling. So, we could get into detail.
No purpling unless the plot demands it.
And the plot demanded it this time because some canoodling went on between some people. Some rejecting went on between specifically me and other people.
Oh, that was a time.
No.
That was, and I have to say, after Wizard of Oz, we're talking about coterie. We're talking about the girls there, and that'll be later.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
So, that set the whole stage. Was Leeds retreat where we were supposed to get all the blocking down. We didn't.
No.
We were supposed to learn some. We didn't.
No.
Where most of what happened was Jackson and I witnessing bad decisions.
That just sums up the entirety of Wizard of Oz.
Well, no, because remember how cold it was, right? Mm-hmm. And remember how on one of those benches there was potentially like 20 people to a 10-person bench.
Oh yeah.
And they had many a blanket and a like a.
For those who can't see, which is everyone, he's flopping his hands around like a maniac.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
He looks like he's aggressively washing his hands.
Which may have been what was happening.
It was something.
Yeah, after Leeds retreat.
But yeah, no, definitely, the entirety of Wizard of Oz was pretty much, we kind of became the old dudes from the Muppets who just sat back and watched everything happen, and like, we were the third party in all of it.
So let's get to some memorable moments, okay? Because most of the rehearsal process wasn't nearly as memorable as it could have been, beyond, witnessing the canoodling.
Oh yeah, well, there is one other thing that happened at Leeds retreat.
Oh,
and that was
Brady
stealing Raleigh's fanny pack.
Okay, so Brady is
the greatest.
Brady is like a 6'3", very intelligent. He likes calculus.
He was
one
the
of those
oldest
dudes.
guy there.
Oldest dude there.
Was he 18 at that point?
Yeah, he was 18.
Yeah, he was 18.
Yeah.
He's an 18-year-old guy. He is older than everyone else there.
Yeah.
And this guy, and Raleigh had 2 fanny packs.
Yeah, Raleigh,
which really just shows.
Yeah.
And he was wearing both of them at the same time.
Now, mind you, 2 fanny packs, and to increase the sex appeal, he had fingerless gloves on.
Oh, yeah. So, I believe it started with Alex took the fanny packs and, like, hid them somewhere.
Yeah, because Alex is a little troll, and we love him.
Yeah, he's great. And he trolled all of us at D&D. And he took the fanny packs and hid them, and then Raleigh went looking for them, and didn't find them. Brady found them, though.
Yep.
And then Brady ran around. It was a solid hour and a half of Brady running around and hiding them in different locations, and Raleigh trying to find them.
Yeah.
And eventually, at the last half hour, Raleigh just sat down on the bench on the stage out there, because at that point, the Hunchback set was up. And he just sat there and, it was like, I need my fanny packs, and we're just like... And I didn't know where they were. No one had any idea where they were. Except for Brady.
Yeah.
Because at that point, everyone else had stopped following him.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing. When any person of any age looks at you in a serious tone and says, I need my fanny packs, it's quite difficult not to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
It's so difficult not to laugh because, first of all, your first mistake, having a fanny pack. Your second mistake,
having a second fanny pack.
Your third mistake is letting Brady McLaughlin take them. But it was a very serious moment.
Oh, yeah. So serious.
A moment of silence for all these lost fanny packs.
Which he did get them back eventually.
Yeah, he got them back. In case you guys were worried.
Yeah. He never lost his fingerless gloves, though. Those were on his body at all times.
Right, as they should be. So the whole rehearsal process, a couple months go by of rehearsals and learning stuff, and it's going pretty all right.
Do we want to talk about the one vocal rehearsal where Lake and Raleigh almost lost their parts? Do you remember this?
Nope.
Okay, so we're in a vocal rehearsal. It's all of us leads. We're sitting in there because I swear the ensemble was at those besides the Oz dancers, the ensemble were at like maybe 3 rehearsals.
Well, because it was Munchkins and the Emerald City people.
Yeah. And the Oz girls, that's a whole nother topic. We could take a whole podcast of that. But
episode 2.
So we're at this vocal rehearsal, and it's the first vocal rehearsal. So it's like, okay, we're going to learn our parts. We're going to learn our harmonies. It's great. We have She Who Must Not Be Named teaching us our vocal parts, and everyone who knows who that is knows who that is. Mm-hmm. And she, Lake and Raleigh, while being slightly distracting, weren't being like annoying.
Yeah.
They were not. They just were trying to learn. And even Lake was doing good at singing her parts. Raleigh was doing okay.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was probably besides maybe at callbacks, it was kind of the first time in a while anyone had seriously tried to sing their song.
Yeah.
I knew the song really well, because I was singing If I Only Had a Brain, which is the only one people ever listen to.
Yeah.
And if you were born in Kansas, you know it by heart by the time you're 6. You know all the words.
Yeah, well, no, I presume that you know it through genetics.
Through genetics, yeah. So it was like, that was the thing. But because Raleigh's was slightly different, because not only he has a different vocal range, but also that it was written with slightly different notes. Mm-hmm. And she got super mad after the second time singing through that they didn't know their parts for the song. And I was like, and she got super mad, just I could give these parts to other people. Da-da-da.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
I remember this now.
And he's and I was just this is maybe the 5th time they're singing through this song. And also, she hadn't done any teaching at this point. She had just played the song and let them sing through them. And I'm like, and mentally I'm just you are the vocal director. You're supposed to teach them, not get mad at them for not knowing it before you teach it. They don't know it before you teach it because you haven't taught it.
The thing with youth theater is that there's 2 expectations. Or there's 2 type of expectations that come down from the
directors.
Yeah, from the directors, which is either your kids.
Yeah.
or you should be professionals.
Yeah.
And both of them are fine. Expectations.
Yeah.
Because one of them calls forth more from people. The other one is like, I'm not surprised when you're acting like teenagers.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times you can definitely be the professional, be professional and still be, like, it's not like a music exclusive thing. Like, at this one thing, it's Inspired Productions now, but I'm going to call it IP because that's shorter.
Yep.
She definitely has you guys are professionals. I've given you a lot of times. You only have a week to do it, so just learn all your lines beforehand. You have like 3 months.
Yeah.
And then, but also she's like, you guys are teenagers.
Yeah.
Like,
I wouldn't say that's expecting professionalism. That's more because of IP does a different thing than most youth theater around here, where it's 5 days to rehearse, weekend you put it on.
Yeah.
Which it's different, and you should be expected to know your lines beforehand.
Yeah.
And know your songs beforehand.
Yeah.
But when you have 3 months to do it. So Raleigh and Lake almost lost their parts because here's the thing. If I only had a heart and if I only had the nerve, which is Tin Man's and the Lions version if I only had brain.
Yes.
Are entirely different songs.
Completely different.
Like for me, when I had to do the lion voice, the one I'm doing right now, it took me a while to get it. Like I had no clue and to sing like this. It was so hard. So hard to sing like this. So
no one's gonna know what you're saying.
No, it's impossible. But that voice, it took me a long time, and I had a lot of grace for that, which is cool. Nobody else had grace.
No.
I don't know if it was favoritism, because if it's favoritism, I feel bad. If it's not favoritism, then I'm like, what? Because like there was definitely an ire on the Tin Man.
Yes.
Because the Tin Man, I think it's because of the purpling that went on during Legion Street, that they had an eye on him for the rest of the show. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is the ire and the things, I felt like it did not come a lot of times from the director.
Yeah.
Because she loved us all.
Yeah.
She liked us all. It was from the vocal director.
Yeah, entirely different. I would move on to Show Week.
Oh, Show Week.
Okay. So Show Week, by the way, I have a theory with every single production I'm in that there's never been a single production where I felt like, wow, I'm really confident about this. We know everything is going to go well. Basically, every single production during dress rehearsal or dress week, you're like, oh, this production's a pile of garbage.
We know nothing.
That's what you usually think.
Yeah.
But during the dress week for Wizard of Oz, it was really good.
Oh yeah,
our dress week was so hot.
Like as opposed to, I don't know, what was Hunchback before then? But what was the show right before then?
It was either Hunchback or Beauty and the Beast.
It was Beauty and the Beast. So Beauty and the Beast was okay. It was mostly just turning those big things around.
Yeah.
But Hunchback, which is what was fairly fresh in my mind because my mom did stage managing stuff.
Yeah.
When all those pillars we were supposed to move were made twice as big as they were all expecting, and we didn't actually plan for like half the times we were gonna have to move them, and we barely had practiced it. It was like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. With Wizard of Oz, Shelby
it all went great.
Didn't have like a massive. The whole stage is gonna move all the time, and like the only kerfuffle was in the first scene getting Dorothy's house out.
Getting the giant front of a house off stage.
Yeah, and it's like Toto. That went well. We forgot. No. During dress week.
Oh yeah, during dress rehearsal.
Week, it went well.
It went
People's
perfectly.
lines went decently well.
Yeah.
Glinda flying went decently
great.
well. And, like, there's not too many problems. It's looking good, which is rare. It's so rare.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, somebody said Macbeth. Because
I scream it before every single show.
I mean, so
just
do
as loud as I can.
So was it us?
I don't know. I've done it for other shows that have gone.
Our parts went great the whole time.
I fight fate by screaming Macbeth before every show.
Yeah. Don't tell any of our theater people that we do that.
Don't tell any of the theater people that are listening right now that we screamed Macbeth before every show.
But
I think it was because we finally had the power to do it because we were leads.
But because we weren't leads in the last few shows.
But definitely no.
The opening night, okay? Everything's looking good. Everything's looking fine.
Yeah, I have no memory of what order they transpired in.
I had a conversation with the executive director who owns the whole company where she was like, very worried about the show because she thought it was all going to fall to pieces. And it was a very private conversation, not the most appropriate conversation to have with an actor. Yeah. But like, she was very worried about it. She thought it was all going to fall to pieces, and I was like, I mean, I don't see where you're coming from, Miss Executive Director. Yeah. It looks pretty good.
There were one or two signs, like not even big ones though. Like one, we just didn't have like a person to run the sound.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I was like, okay, but you know,
that usually comes together.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it's just turning some mics on and off and hitting play on the music.
It can't be that hard.
It can't be that.
How could somebody mess that up?
How could somebody mess that up?
Another sign. There would be the occasional like pause in a scene where we would look to the Tin Man and know that he did not know his lines. But the thing is, during Tech Week, he recovered.
Yeah, he knew all of his lines. Yeah, we didn't have to like cover improv for him that much.
During people's songs, they weren't horrifically off tune.
No,
the show ran good. But as opening night. Okay, so Dorothy has this kind of famous song
called "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
I don't know if you've heard it before. It goes a little something like "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Yeah, which we can't sing because it'll get copyright. Wait, actually, that song might be old enough that it can't get copyright claimed.
I personally think that if we get copyright claimed, then I'll be happy because then I'll know we're actually doing a podcast.
Yeah, then they're like, oh yeah, someone watched it was like, you're not allowed to do that.
I'll be like, yes! I mean, oh darn, we were gonna make money on this.
Yeah.
But, Lake's mic went off.
Was it? No. Mic. No. Her mic was on perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. The song went off.
So
after like the first verse, the entire "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" song cut, and she sang the whole thing perfectly a cappella. Which it was the greatest moment ever. It was like, that is true recovery. The audience clapped for like 5 minutes.
Well, the even better part about it was,
we were all dancing backstage.
It's an empty stage, right?
Yeah.
And because Shelby set up to be like Over the Rainbow is going to be an empty, dark stage with just the spotlight on Dorothy talking about the life she wished that she had, and it's beautiful. It's done well. Lake has a great voice for it, and we all love it.
Yeah.
But when it's just no music, so much of the atmosphere fell down until she was just like belting out those notes like she'd never done it before. Then as we were like dancing backstage, she came back almost crying from terror, and we're like, Lake, we love you so much. You did outstanding, yeah. And that's gonna be the last thing that goes
wrong. It's gonna be the last thing. I don't even remember what happened in all the other ones. Like, which show was which? Because I feel like there were a couple ones that nothing bad happened in the middle. Like, the two middle shows went fine.
Yeah. So, we're just going to talk about discombobulated things. So, at the end of Act 1, right? Yeah. We're all singing it. So, like, the way that Wizard of Oz basically goes is that Dorothy is like, I wish I didn't live in Kansas, and blah, blah, blah. I'm a Zoomer. Get out of here. She's not a... She would be the greatest generation. But anyway, the tornado takes her away. She's like, she goes to the Munchkin Land, which is like a 12-minute song. And then she meets the Scarecrow. Then she meets Tin Man, and then she meets the Lion.
Then they fall asleep in a poppy field, and then they go. And then at the end of Act 1, they go to they start going to Emerald City.
Yeah.
After every single one of those scenes, they sing "We're Off to See the Wizard," and we do a little dance that slowly, like, it's just more and more people doing the dance as she picks up more characters.
So Dorothy, when she's leaving Munchkin Land, we're off to see the wizard with the Munchkins.
Yeah.
Or the midgets, as I call them.
The midgets. Yeah.
And then she just
made less money than Toto in the movie.
And then they're just doing it with. Then she's doing it with Jackson. Then she's doing it with Jackson and Raleigh. Then she's doing it with all four of us. And then, right at the end of the show, like right at the end of Act 1, we're all supposed to be doing it like, oh, I can see it. What a beautiful...
Look at the Emerald City.
What a beautiful city. And it's like, it's stuff like that. And there's supposed to be music there.
Yeah, and we're supposed to start dancing and start singing. Guess what happens?
It starts with music. And then it cuts.
And after like 5 seconds, it's like, where? And then, I don't think it started.
No, it's just nothing at all?
No, yeah. Nothing,
and Glinda didn't come down from the sky.
Yeah, no, because Glinda's supposed to come down and be like, I will wake you all up from the poppies.
And she didn't.
Yeah, the Scarecrow does a line of like, someone help us because I'm made of hay and immune to the poppies. And or straw or whatever. And then she's supposed to be like, Glinda, help us. And she's supposed to like come down on like a hula hoop attached to the sky.
That's probably right, but yeah.
Yeah, and just be like, I'm going to help you, and then like basically blizzards all the poppies away, all the red flowers, and then
all the opium.
And then it's like, oh, they all wake up. How fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody help us. And I'm like looking up at the sky. And like, because I always had the same position where I'm like, where I like throw my arms to my side.
Why
and, like,
was your Glenda voice the same as your voice?
I don't know. I just went to that one for some reason. I was like, somebody help us or whatever. And I'm like, throw my arms down. And I'd like look up like, oh, she's coming down.
So pure science.
Yeah.
With me on my back asleep, Raleigh.
Your feet are straight up in the air.
Straight up in the air. Raleigh frozen as a Tin Man.
Frozen in the robot
Dorothy,
dance. Just like taking a nap.
And we're all just like, our heart drops as Glenda doesn't come. And we hear, not projected over the microphone, Mackenzie shouting like, and she's like trying to sing her song because there's no music to her song. And she's trying to sing the song that will wake us all up, and it doesn't.
Yeah, she's like, I will do my own magic and freeze it. And nothing's happening.
So
we're just like, well, crap.
And so we all kind of just wake up, like, looking at each other,
like,
this is
oh
going
my gosh,
poorly.
she did it. And then we run over and we grab the thing and we free the Tin Man. And we're like, yay! And there's the Emerald City! Yay! And we start.
This is during the school show! This is during the school show, right?
What? No,
wait. I remember when the doors opened at the back, I saw the light. It wasn't during the night. And,
yeah.
Oh, man. The awkward moment of us being, like, looking at each other, and then just Jackson and I. All right? Because I believe we were the only two improv stuff when things went wrong.
Raleigh actually did some fairly good, like, thing. Yeah, so we all hook arms. We're about to be like, we're off to see the wizard one last time. We were looking up.
No music.
Nope, nothing.
So that the job that Jackson and I was like, that's so simple. Of course that could work. Failed.
Twice. 3 times.
3 times by now.
3 times in the first 2 shows.
We're just like, so...
Yeah.
All right, what happened? Jackson and I make eye contact, and we're off to see the wizard.
So no. What first happens is we make eye contact. We're on opposite sides.
Yeah,
there are 2 people in between us, and we're just kind of looking at each other. And you and Raleigh and me start improvising. I don't think I actually said anything. I just kind of was like nodded to what you guys were saying stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not gonna speak because I'm like, these 2 are dealing with the improv stuff. You did like the green is my favorite color. Oops, I already said that.
Green is my favorite color.
And then you said it again. It was like, oh, I already said that. And it's like, oh, and then like even like Lake was like, oh, it's so pretty again. Like her and Raleigh started like repeating their lines, and you were trying to make stuff up, and I was just standing there like yeah, and then like looking out. Like I probably made eye contact with the person in the sound booth. Like, get your act together, and then
blink twice if you're in
finally
danger.
Comes on.
And it took us by surprise, right?
Yeah, no, we weren't expecting. We're like, da-da, and it started like right when we're supposed to sing it. They didn't have the build up it was supposed to, and then it was like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and we're like, the wonderful wisdom of, and we like start like speed running the dance to get to where we need to be.
Everything you think is bad about youth theater was put on display in that like 5-minute period, and it was the longest 5 minutes of the audience's life.
And it was like, what in the I don't even know how that happened. The 3.5 hour long giant set constant song of death Hunchback had less things go wrong than the Wizard of Oz, which everyone knows.
And so it's the easiest thing but because for you and I, who didn't have too many kerfuffles, right? It was all right.
Yeah.
Like the only kerfuffle we had was with your legs.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it's like if you mess up and say something like Les Mis or Hunchback, not everyone knows the story.
Yeah.
You are doing Wizard of Oz in Kansas. Everyone knows the story. Everyone knows when everything is supposed to happen. So everyone's like, oh yeah, they messed that up there. Like, I had friends in the audience who were at the show that night, which I think that's where the legs happened, right?
Yeah, probably.
But that was the only thing that went wrong at that show. So, which was the best show.
Yeah.
But besides, like, the Tin Man forgot his lines a couple times. We covered for him.
By the way, he forgot so many lines on stage, barely any in rehearsal.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And that's like the biggest debate of our lives.
Yeah.
Jackson and I, when he forgets to say something, we're just like, we'll continue. We continue the story. It's like Tin Man doesn't exist. It's just the spare.
But what's funny is, a couple of times, because it happened once or twice in rehearsal, I knew what his next line was. So one of us would just say his next line, or we'd go on to whatever our next line was, even just ignoring what he was supposed to say.
Yeah.
But we definitely ended up but I had friends who saw the show that night when the leg thing happened, which we'll get to, and a couple lines were missing. And they're like, I remember that line from the movie. Are they supposed to say that there? And I was like, oh yeah, he forgot his line. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have known that, but it's Wizard of Oz. Like, and I'm like, I'm glad all of my friends came to that show because it was the best show.
Yeah,
I was like, you guys didn't see but that was the rest of it.
Okay, so let's do the Hay story next, because so there's a point after the jitterbug scene, which was a fun dance.
That was the best dance ever. Oh, we missed over talking about that rehearsal, but we can go back to that.
But it was a good dance. I liked it. It was the jitterbug, and
so much fun.
Basically, what happens is the Wicked Witch of the West.
Don't pull out a headband.
What?
There's PTSD there.
Okay, but the Wicked Witch of the West sends like a little bug that makes everybody dance.
Yeah.
And they dance until they die, or until the flying monkeys take Dorothy away.
Yeah.
And that entire sentence, if I wasn't born in Kansas, sounds like I'm on crack. But so afterwards, like, it's just the lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Which personally are some of the best moments of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It was just us three, and really just
boogieing down until we fell on the ground.
Yeah, boogieing down, and then what's supposed to happen is that the flying monkeys come in, they terrify the cowardly lion, the Tin Man
tries to fight them and loses somehow, even though he has an axe. And then I get like...
The monkey is greater than the sword.
And I'm supposed to get like my limbs teared off. And like, every theater company does this differently, but mostly it consists of the Scarecrow lying with like different parts of his body covered by set pieces, and then there's like fake versions that they throw around.
Yeah.
So
one of the better moments is that like he's got some legs off, like that looks like the offstage cuts it off. Yeah.
And we have these fake legs that look exactly like the legs I have. Mm-hmm. And so
you don't want to see who we had to kill for.
Yeah. So I'm laying there, and your thing is like, I'm gonna put your legs back on. So you grab the legs, you run over, and instead of like sticking them behind the stage and tossing them, because that's what we did later, and the lady was like, hey, I'm standing right here, just throw them to me. You set them on top of my actual body.
Yep.
You set them like waist to waist, like perfectly where my legs would have actually gone if I was missing my legs.
Nobody should have noticed, because we were gonna have the backstage lady take them.
Yeah.
As she told us to.
Yeah. But what happened is she didn't. So when you and Raleigh grabbed my arms and pulled me out, it pulled the fake fur legs with me, and they like flopped onto the ground.
So it's just
and the entire audience starts
4 legs.
Oh yeah. So it's like, so then we master improv it, and Raleigh's like, you have a second pair of legs, and I'm like, shh, don't tell anyone. And then in my brain, and then I think one of us, I think it was me, because I probably the only person that was, I made a joke about them being my girlfriend's because in the book the Scarecrow has a girlfriend that is a scarecrow.
So it's like a doll girl or something.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, I just have them, and then it's like, oh, and you like grab them and throw them backstage. It's like no one cares at this point.
I'm no longer trusting anyone.
Yeah, and then the next line is talking about, all right, we have to lead into the castle. We're trying to convince you to lead.
Yeah.
And you say your line about, I don't want to lead. And Raleigh, in making up for forgetting every one of his lines, just goes, it's either you or the legs. And the audience lost it. We were like, this is great.
No, because like in that one moment, Raleigh was perfected. He could have forgotten every other line in the show, which he kind of did.
Yeah.
But that one improv line was just so good that we continued on with such gusto. All right. I think we need to talk about Toto. That's the final story of the saga of Wizard of Oz.
Oh, boy.
So, we had this, like, little chihuahua thing, right?
AKA, say it with me, a demon.
Yeah, no, it was a bad dog.
And what was weird is it was a bad dog, but it wasn't horrible during all the rehearsals.
Yeah, and much like everything with Wizard of Oz, it wasn't horrible during the rehearsals. It just failed during the shows.
Yeah.
So Toto...
It was the same night as the legs, actually.
Yeah, show 2 or something. What's supposed to happen is Toto gets taken, right? And this dog does not like people. No. She was comfortable with Dorothy.
Yeah.
Basically no one else. And the thing is, the dog needs to get handed off to like 12 people throughout the show.
Yeah.
Which
is why we had our owner backstage, who was also the dance instructor, back there to carry her around. This was the school show.
Yeah. So, which was the show when everything fell apart, including your legs.
Yeah, which was probably that was the one that night. The school show was the one, I believe, where the music didn't play for We're Off to the Wizard.
So what happened is they trusted me with the dog because as this podcast will go on, you will know that I have an affinity for animals.
Yeah.
So
we both do, but also I have straw sticking in the dog's eyeball.
Yeah. So what
I also, we're just going to point out with my costume, had a little pocket on the inside that was like, okay, yeah, when the witch throws the fireball, you can stick it in there, or there's like different things, like I think one or two, like the apples that the trees throw at us, I can like stick them in there. It's like, we got one. They didn't seal off the pocket from the other side. So it was actually just a hole. Like, they had partially sealed it off, but I had to, like, hold it in there.
Was there a time when the fireball fell through your pant leg?
No, it didn't fall through the pant leg. It just straight up... Oh, no, yeah, it did. It just fell straight through all the way down because there was a hole in the bottom of the shirt.
Which, I mean, must be deadly. But,
yeah.
Right after the jitterbug scene, I'm holding... So no, Toto gets taken as well.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene with Dorothy in a mirror, and then Toto escapes, right?
Yeah.
So as the three dudes are coming up to, like, storm the witch's castle...
And we, like, beat the snot out of our friends who are Winkies.
Yeah. And then eventually I'm like, oh, Toto! And I pick him up, and, like, we're doing there, we're holding Toto, and we're supposed to have a vicious battle with some Winkies. We do. Toto's fine, right? But the dog's a little stressed.
Yeah.
He's a little,
Yeah, because he's the tiny yappy dog that gets stressed all the time.
Yeah, so he's a little stressed. So I noticed that he's stressed because it's the thing is wiggling so much. And I'm like having this battle. I'm like, dog, don't do anything you're doing before. You're stressing the dog. And so as I'm like carrying someone like piggybacking on someone with dog in hand, it's just all chaotic. But that's not when the bad thing happened. The bad thing happened when we were back at the Wizards, like back like in the Emerald City with the Wizard.
Yeah, because Lake had mostly calmed him down at that point, and then his owners calmed him down.
Yeah. So what's supposed to happen is that Toto is supposed to find the Wizard.
Yeah. We could not get the dog to go back.
Toto's on the ground, goes off stage.
Yep.
Dorothy's like, as Alex is like, yes, I am the wizard. And she goes back on stage, gets Toto's like...
Because all of Alex's facial things up on the screen are pre-recorded.
Yeah.
I think he gave his lines... No, he didn't give his lines. His lines were also all pre-recorded when he was being the big wizard man.
Yeah.
So he couldn't even improv and keep it going because there was just a recorded face talking.
Yeah. So Toto just was not complying until eventually Lake, just the third time the dog goes off, pushes him into where the wizard is.
Then Alex, the wizard, picks him
him
up and like walks in, like, the whole thing happens, and he's holding the dog like this, and the dog just goes, alright, just like full on biting like 12 times full on into his hand, and he went with it. He just kept talking, and everyone acted like it wasn't happening.
Like, so well, and like, we're all terrified, because we're like, this dog is not complying. But
this dog is biting his hand.
Going through the scene, we don't drop any lines.
The audience is kind of chuckling because there's a nuts dog biting
until eventually, like, Lake takes back, and it's fine. And then the dog bites Lake.
Like, that's not supposed to happen.
And then we're like, because, like, here's the thing with us being dudes. We're like, oh, it's biting Alex. Who cares? And then it bites
Good
Lake.
censoring
like,
there, buddy.
Huh? This dog bit Lake, the person that, Jackson and I have, like, raised. And, like, at that moment, like, we could look out into the crowd and see Mark Souls, who is a legend.
Oh, he is the most legend.
Who's Lake's father, just being like...
And we're like, we'll beat the dog for you, don't worry.
Yeah, and because we're a little bit upset. But some other things happen here.
Okay.
So the dog gets retired after this show, because it's just...
Which led to one of the best audience laughing at moments of all time.
Yeah, so the dog gets retired, but that's not how this show ends, okay?
No.
Because there's a moment when it's just us three, me, and the Tin Man. Mm-hmm. And there's supposed to be a line from the wizard. Mm-hmm. As he's going up in his balloon. When Raleigh Jonas says... We're like... what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And then Raleigh Jonas says, God, is that you?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Because his mic, Alex's mic went off, so no one could hear.
He's supposed to be saying, because mics and sound just exploded all over the place.
And
so we're waiting on a line.
No, what happened? No, I don't actually wait. No, the mic didn't go off. What happened is the balloon raised too quickly. So by the time he was actually supposed to start saying his line, he wasn't visible anymore. So he said that, and Raleigh... He's like, he did good improv. Now he's like, I have to make up for it by doing horrible improv.
The worst improv ever, because with improv, you're supposed to stay in character.
Yeah.
Right? He breaks character entirely.
I'm like, what?
As he says, God, is that you? Jackson and I are looking at him like,
Like, we managed to not break character simply because that's how those characters treat the Tin Man anyway, as like, kind of like, what the crap are your ideas?
Yeah.
What are you saying? So we were just kind of like, and we did not yes and that. We're like, no.
We were like, there is no God. There is no God.
It's like, I did an improv class where I was trying to hide that I was a crime, and someone said there were security cameras in that room, and I said no, there weren't. Picked up a rock and threw it into the security camera, and that was better yes-anding than what we did to him.
Oh man, we just cut it off and walked off stage. We were like, we can't do this. On to the next scene.
Well, no, we didn't walk off stage. Because we're on stage until we do the quick change at that point.
Oh, yes!
Because, wow, you need to put the headband on if you're going to talk like that. Because at that point, he goes up, we talk to her, we say our goodbyes, we run around her like spiritual ghosts bursting out of her, and then run off stage to do a quick change.
Yeah.
And
cool, that quick change.
Yeah. But that's the same for every Wizard of Oz show. It's nuts. And it was actually pretty good. That was something that never went wrong, that everyone expected to go wrong.
I just occasionally had a wig in the last scene.
And Wally's face was occasionally slightly
and you just looked like he had jaundice, so no difference, really.
Yeah, I had like, might have been wearing lipstick, but
Yeah.
But it was, it was like, went fairly well. So, then we've retired the dog. Next show,
no dog.
We're supposed to, after we fight the Winkies, we're supposed to be like...
By the way, we replaced Toto with a stuffed animal.
Yeah, stuffed animal.
Yeah.
So we're standing there, and you're supposed to be like, there's Toto! And Toto's supposed to like run on stage. You just see the dancer's arm over the thing with the stuffed dog and then go... And the audience just loses it, because you just see an arm set a stuffed dog there and then, like, retract into the darkness. And you're like, Toto! You like wide Scottish walk over there and pick it up, and you're like, you like, shake it up. And we're like, now we can do whatever we want, because it's a stuffed animal.
Oh, no, we abused that stuffed animal.
Yeah.
But...
after the point where I like pile drived James into the ground, we're just like, let's abuse a stuffed animal more.
Oh man, so I think that sums up most of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, besides the jitterbug rehearsal, which was the most tired. Like, as someone who had to run a 5K in 105-degree heat, the only difference between that and the jitterbug rehearsal is that was less fun. The jitterbug rehearsal was just as tiring and sweaty, but it was so much more fun. Man. It was like I think I would put that as the most fun I've ever had during a rehearsal. But we all...
It was a fun dance. Yeah, it was a good dance.
It was so much fun. And I was like, this is the actual fun. Like, we're doing Charleston's, we're dancing around, we're just having fun. We might all be sweating.
For some reason, Tasha thought I could dance, so she was like, yo, well, let's make you do a bunch of hard stuff. And I'm like, why?
It's like, we may be all sweating buckets upon buckets, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. So, Wizard of Oz, to sum it up, the lessons that we learned in Wizard of Oz, because it is our archetypal everything went wrong show.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And as we grow up, I've learned a lot of lessons from Wizard of Oz. First off, there is no God. Which is... But second off, the real thing, the real Wizard of Oz was the friends we made along the way.
Oh my God. Pretty much. Except for all the ones we don't talk to anymore.
Well, no, because like the real thing is, I think that show started really started our friendship.
Oh yeah, no. That and probably, I would say, we kind of had known each other and talked for a little bit. Yeah. And then Beauty and the Beast, I think, was definitely when we first started.
Well, no, because you joined our D&D group,
and that was also when we were partnered up for fencing in the Suns class. So we talked to each other a lot. And then Wizard of Oz definitely cemented it like, oh yeah, we're great friends. This is great.
No, and it's the type of thing where if you knew more about Jackson and I's history, where it's like my dad and Jackson's mom, like they were in high school together.
Yeah, and our grandmas are like friends.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And that sort of thing to where when you're two families that have lived in Kansas for the last 50 years, and you've been friends, and then it just feels like fate when the two of us bonded over trash.
Oh, yeah.
And that is this podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it's like even your dad and my mom are very different people.
Mm-hmm. Like incredibly different.
It must like skip a generation because our grandmas are fairly similar.
Yep.
And then our parents who knew each other completely different, and then we are similar.
Yep.
It's like there could have been so many things where, like, you would expect one of us to just end up, like, not compatible to be friends at all. Mm-hmm. But no, somehow it's like, oh yeah, we're friends. It makes sense. Yeah. We like the same things.
And beyond just, like, having similar interests, right? That's not really what keeps people together.
No, yeah.
What keeps people together is, like, having the similar values.
Yeah.
Similar... Like, we will talk about things, and the longer and the more that Jackson and I hang out, the more that we realize, hey, we have a lot of chemistry.
Yeah.
And we can bond and jump off of each other's statements like that. And we're not great at it. Because we're just two perfectly average dudes.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing exceptional about us. We're just a normal Midwestern friendship.
Oh, yeah.
And that's also a podcast name. Normal Midwestern friendship. But by the way, we've still yet to decide the podcast name.
Yeah.
But I think that we wanted to start with Wizard of Oz just because it sums up why Jackson and I, why at least we think that Jackson and I work.
Oh, yeah.
Is that there was a show that went horribly, we bonded over it.
And we have so much fun talking about it. And, like, there's definitely a lot we don't remember that definitely happened. Like, if we had done this podcast, like, probably, like, 2 days after Leeds Retreat for Wizard of Oz, the entire podcast would be talking about everything that happened. Because I'm betting there's so much that happened that we just don't remember. Yeah. But it was like, yeah, that happened. That was a weird thing that existed.
Yeah. But, like, I think that after that, I was like, wow, okay, so Jackson and I are decently close. And then we saw Wizard of Oz get done by Theater in the Park. And we were just... Like, we hadn't talked for, like close for months until we saw Wizard of Oz done by someone else, and we were just sitting down there laughing like nothing changed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was...
it was great.
Because
and they had a horse on. There was a horse on stage.
Why was there a horse on stage?
It doesn't... and it wasn't like... I know in the movie they have the multicolored one, but, like, it was just a horse, and they're like... I don't even know what... There was just a horse. They had a horse on there. It was great. I think, and they had it for scenes where it didn't make sense. They, like, had the horse at the beginning on the farm scene, just because they wanted to use the horse more than just in the one scene where they're supposed to be in the carriage. It's like, and we were laughing. We were talking about, it's like, that person did that better, but we did this better, but
yeah.
And it was really
I believe
funny.
that I took a picture of the horse on stage and sent it to our D&D group chat with the words, why is there an effing horse on stage?
Yeah. We were both there, and we were laughing, and then, who else? There was someone, was it Lauren or Bethany who was sitting with us?
Bethany.
I think it was Beth. Yeah. We were talking, so she was, like, listening to us talk about this, like, the Wizard of Oz, and then Molly and Kyla were, gosh knows where. Like, just, like, who knows?
Yeah. So...
we've both known them for a very long time, and we still know nothing about them. It's insane how much, like, how little... people know about each other, even when they know each other. Like, we're definitely friends, but it's like, who knows?
Yeah, well, that's what we'll do with this podcast. How much time have we been talking for?
We're 87 minutes.
87? That's we can talk for a little bit longer.
Yeah, we can go a little bit longer. So,
I mean, we're episode 2. We're gonna have a guest on.
Oh yeah,
our first guest.
Our first guest,
interview.
Interview, yeah. Which we're recording like 5 minutes after we finish.
Don't tell them that.
Oh, no, it's a surprise.
The magic. The magic of podcast.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the girls in coterie.
Okay.
Because this is a thing that has happened with all my friends. So,
can I start with my theory?
Okay, yeah. Here's your theory.
So, I call it nuancy bias.
Yes.
All right. In theater, there's about 5 girls to every 1 guy.
Yes.
Right? And the thing about theater is, like, I'm not homophobic. Half the guys are gay.
Correct.
Right? And that's just how it works.
That is how it works.
And the thing is, most of the girls are straight.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like 10 girls to every 1 eligible guy.
Uh-huh.
Right? And we've both experienced this because we're perfectly average. We're not that attractive.
Oh, yeah, no. Definitely not.
I don't think I'm attractive. You don't think you're attractive.
No, definitely.
We don't think each other are attractive because
no.
we're some of the few heterosexual theater guys.
Yeah.
Which could also be the name for this podcast. But
I don't think we'll get many people clicking on that.
Nobody cares about the theater guys who are heterosexual. But,
we're gonna get all rednecks listening to this. They just see heterosexual, like, well, I gotta subscribe to this.
I'm not gay, I might as well. So it's miraculous.
Oh no!
And the thing is, that would be enough, right? Mm-hmm. 10 suitors to every 1 suiter. The guys are gonna get more attention.
Sounds like a 50s movie.
well, I mean, if it fits. But the worst part is that in most theater companies, the pool of guys is stagnant.
Yes.
Right? There's like 10 dudes and like a rotating door of 2 or 3 dudes.
Yes.
Right?
And those 10, most of the time, those 10 dudes, or at least most of them, are dating someone either not at the theater company or at the theater company.
If they're smart, not at the theater company.
Yeah, if they're smart.
If they're dumb, at the theater company, and it changes every show.
Yes.
Right?
Except for the actually, I don't know if they're still dating, but when I was in Newsies there, the guy who played Jekyll and the girl who played the generic strong female character that I don't remember the name of, Catherine, they ended up dating after the show.
Huh.
And they were actually cute, and I don't know if they still are, but I was like, oh, yeah, this makes sense.
They may no longer be cute. Well, because here's the thing with showmances.
They don't last.
The only, even like, on like the professional level, like...
They just don't last.
Or like TV shows and movies, they don't last. The only time I've ever seen one last is, and I don't even know if they're still married, they might have gotten divorced, but the guy who plays Prince Charming, the girl who plays Snow White in Once Upon a Time, got married like after the first or second season.
All right.
And then like I when I started watching it had like 5 seasons, and I looked that up, and they were still married at that point. I'm like, huh. As for a Hollywood romance that was also a showmance, that lasted that's pretty long.
No, that's more impressive. But Jackson and I, we woke up to this at a certain point where we were like, oh, so that's how theater works. And we kind of just aren't interested in like the attention.
No.
We aren't interested
in it. Because there was the reason it was nice being a trilogy. Because by the time we hit like dating, like Beauty and the Beast, dating, like all that.
Driving age.
Driving age, yeah.
Where you're not having your parents drive you to dates, which, man, that's the funniest thing to see people do, is like when they're 14 and trying to date. Shout out to Lincoln Bartell.
Oh, boy. So, yeah. And then it was like, we had Beauty and the Beast, and there were like some girls our age, and then, but most of them were in the dance who had left already. And then after that show, like the rest of them left.
Which we were fine with.
Which was great. So
it was just the boys.
Yeah. And then it was great, because then it was like Wizard of Oz. All of the girls were like our little sisters. Like our younger sisters who we're going to take, like...
Except Mackenzie.
Who... So...
We might talk about that later.
We probably will. But then it was like... So like Lake, Jaden, Emma, like, who we had all known for a very long time. It's like, yeah. We're going to protect them. And it was funny... Because at that point, now, the new wave of guys had come in, of Raleigh and Carson, and Aiden wasn't new, but he had...
Aiden, so Aiden McLaughlin, there's a funny story about Aiden McLaughlin. So, he's like a child athlete, he's been doing wrestling his whole life, and there was a summer, alright, where beginning of the summer, you know, he looked 13, like a 13-year-old, 13. End of the summer, jacked. He looked like John Cena, all right? And he
still looks like John Cena.
To this day, he looks like John Cena. It's hilarious. Because over one summer, he went from being 13 to being 13. Like, it's entirely different.
Oh, yeah. He is much more of a man than either one of us.
Yeah, he has more testosterone than us two put together.
It's kind of a shame. And so many girls love him, and it's really funny.
As they should, because he's a certain height. And have you seen his biceps?
Oh yeah, but I love it because I'll invite him to like things to hang out.
It was at this point when all the people listening were like, "Are we sure that they're heterosexual?
Are we sure?" No. So I'll invite Aiden to my I invited him to like a Halloween party.
Yep.
And there was a girl from my school who I'm really good friends with, named Caitlin, and she is. I would describe her as female Aiden. Like she's not like ripped or direct, but they have the exact same sense of humor. So I was like, oh, we're gonna get these two at 9:00 at night on Candy. This is gonna be the funniest thing ever.
I think you said so much about our friend group on Candy as teenagers.
Oh yeah. I actually think everyone else was from school except for him, because I invited him, Noah Presley, and Noah Berry. And Noah Presley was stuck at his house, and Noah Berry didn't show up. So it was just him from Trilogy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, who's like, this is gonna be funny. And they clicked instantly, but I got because also Caitlyn just objectively is also like an attractive female, like that is what
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like the Aiden where it's like she's also a certain height and like is skinny.
See,
and,
we can't talk about why women are beautiful without sounding horrible. Yeah, horribly sexist.
Oh yeah, no. So
which
is like that.
Why
I got texts from Aiden and Caitlin, both to me. Aiden's was she was attractive. Caitlin's was you were right. We're similar. We're both funny and we both have nice butts.
See, as somebody who knows Aiden very closely, like we're very close. I've never heard of this Caitlin character.
No, yeah, it was just for like 5 minutes, and he was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, she's pretty, and that was about it.
Objectively speaking.
Oh yeah, of course. He does this.
If we just do the math of it and
scientifically,
it's symmetrical. What can I say?
Yeah. So that's that. Yeah. And then when we did my filming thing, which I will edit eventually once my dad finally converts them to files that actually work with the software.
Oh yeah, blaming your dad. Okay.
I don't know how to. Yeah. But the girl who was there, Jasmine.
Yep.
She also texted me. Was like, hey, she's like, do this subtly, and oh boy, she was like, so the day after that we were having a D&D session. So that morning I wake up to a text like, hey, she's like, I thought Aiden was cute. Slip it casually into the conversation if he thought I was cute. And I'm like, we're at D&D, a bunch of guys in Kaya. How the heck am I gonna slip in? Hey, did you think that girl last night was cute? Casually in the conversation.
Well, especially when it's us two, right? Who
aren't casual. We don't do casual.
Yeah, like
it's just right in your face.
To tell anyone listening who we are, we're the people who get the texts. Hey, did you think this other guy was cute?
Oh yeah, no, it's great. So instead of slipping casually in a conversation like she wanted, I just showed him the text because I'm like, I have no way to even just verbalize this.
Hey, that's subtle enough.
Oh yeah. And because he's Aiden, he was like, oh yeah, I'll deal with this. This happens.
Oh, this is the third one this week.
Yeah, so that was amusing. But with the Coterie girls,
back to the topic.
Back to the topic. When you show up, they all love you because you were the new guy. You were an eligible bachelor.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't even know how to put a computer on Do Not Disturb, so I don't know what to do.
Turn the... I don't know. Mute it. We're having technical... Jerry.
Kindly,
Jerry.
Then what,
Jerry, do you want to say hello to the people? Nah, he's
no.
shy.
He's shy, yeah. So, when you're there, and the thing is, some of the guys like it, some of the guys don't like it.
Yeah.
I remember... when I showed up,
there are two types of guys for theater, right? The guys who it's like with cheerleading. There are two types of guys in cheerleading, right? There's the buff ones who are like dancers, and the ones who know that they're going to be surrounded by beautiful women, right? There are two types of guys.
Yeah, which is strange because attendance to the football games at my school actually dropped when we started a cheerleading team because most of the people who would actually show up to the football games were the people who became the cheerleaders. So there was this one girl who she's super nice. We're friends, and it's like she obviously had a crush on me. I knew this. She didn't leave me alone at all. I was fine with it because I generally don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Like if she is leaning on my shoulder, just had an arm around on my shoulder or laid against my leg or something. I'm like, I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
I have no emotions towards this. And then but from what Lincoln had told me, she did the same thing to him, and a couple other girls did it to him. Luckily, when I showed up, there was this other kid who showed up who it was his first show besides me, who was also named Jackson.
And luckily, he was more attractive.
He was more attractive and also had the same personality as Raleigh.
Perfect.
So, of course, all the women loved him.
Together.
They all loved him.
Did he have curly hair on top, but
no,
slightly short on the side?
He had the Zac Efron, the swoop. It was amazing. So, and he was also fairly muscular. It was like, this makes sense. And he was definitely, all of the girls who were more into that were a little bit younger than me. They were probably all 14, 15 at the time. I was like...
They were all on the new
16,
drug, TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he was much more their age. They were all just probably a year younger than me. So I was like, okay, if the girls like me, that's not that weird because they're just a year younger, but And then it was he showed up, and I think every single one except for the one girl who was on me all went to him, and I was like, this is perfect.
Now, it's like watching Cats. right? It's like watching how cats act. I love it.
And it was hilarious because the people I hung out with in that show was people who I had actually known before the show, besides the girl who was hanging out with me,
Yep.
and then that Jasmine girl,
Yeah.
who I'm friends with. And it's like, yeah, they're people. I talk to them. They're fun. And then there's the other people I hung out with were Emma Smith, who was in that show, and then Arya and Anna.
Yep, three solid dudes. Yeah. Those are, yeah.
Yeah, so they're all, and especially Arya and Anna, who I'd known for a very long time, was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And we also all live in the same neighborhood. Arya lives like 2 minutes away from me, and Anna lives like also 2 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
So we carpooled there and back every single day.
Yeah.
So we all became like pretty good friends during that show.
Understandable.
And it was like, yeah, I'm hanging out with them, and they were all of the girls who weren't like obsessing over some guy.
Because all three of them are pretty
intelligent,
good dudes, right?
Yeah. They're all mostly in control of their brains.
Yeah.
Which cannot be said for most teenagers.
No. Most theater people.
True.
All teenagers are the same, right? As all adults have told us. But beyond all teenagers being the same, all theater people are the same.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And it's miraculous. Like, when you two, like, I told this to Jonah when he started, like, becoming more professional. And he was like, yeah, I just don't want the drama at whatever place you're going to. And I'm like, I'll tell you one thing. The thing that's universal about theater
Is drama.
Is the drama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my lord, is the drama spicy every single time. Because when I finally came to IP, it was like 14 people. I'm not even joking, all right? It's not an exaggeration.
I know you're not. It's all
14 people, and most of them were 14.
For people who don't know, well, at most places the gender split is like 1 to 5 guys.
Yeah.
And that's not even including the ones who actually are attracted to women.
Yeah.
At IP, it's more of just there were maybe when I did Newsies, there was maybe probably about seven guys, and most of them
In a cast of like 70.
Yeah, there were a lot of people, and a couple of them were then. Well, I mean, there were probably some younger guys.
That's a different breed.
Yeah,
Younger
like the guys who were eligible to who were in the dating or attracted range. It was like 7 dudes. 2 of them were seniors at that point. At that point, I was a junior. So no, 3 of them were seniors. So they were all older. They were all probably 2 or 3 years older than any of the girls. There were, besides Arya and Anna, there were maybe like 2 girls my age. The rest of them were all younger, and the rest of the guys were all younger. Like they were all younger. So, but in a world of like, there's 70 people in this cast, and like 90% of them are female.
It's a mosh pit, yeah. To people who aren't theater dudes, we're gonna sound like we're 2 of the largest douches.
Yeah, we just women like me.
Yeah,
I want to be alone now.
No. Like we were gonna sound like that. However, I would ask you, because we're talking about it as we don't think we're deserving of this attention at all.
No.
Like,
I do nothing deserving.
Speaking,
I'm like, I am a strange, lanky man. My nickname at school by a couple of my friends, they call me Lassiter from Psych, because I'm just a tall, lanky man. Either that or they call...
That's a compliment, man.
Oh, yeah. Either that or they call me Henry when I wear my over-the-top Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, man.
Mostly because most of my friends love Psych.
Oh, man. But it's like... That I think that's about sums it up.
Yeah.
Because the thing that the 2 of us do in theater is just be like, okay, so I want to have a conversation with them, like a legitimate conversation with them. Like, so let's say that their name is like Jabeki, for instance, and Jabeki is, doing this like little snuggle thing where she's like, oh, it's not that I like you or anything. My arm is just around you. My head is like nestled in your armpit,
and I'm like holding a blanket around you.
And I'm like slowly doing like the inch, like the inchworm, where it's like I'm slowly covering more of your body. It's like the least subtle thing ever, and trust me,
like how I think we're talking about 2 different people.
2 different Jabekis, right?
Oh, yeah.
They come in mini form.
Because I was thinking of one, and then I just realized, oh wait, you're probably thinking of a different one.
And then I saw a pale horse, and riding it was Jabeki. But the thing about it is that it has sharpened our Badars so explicitly. Because we're in theater, we have the sharpest gaydar
Oh,
and the
yeah.
sharpest baydar.
It's
We know when
crazy.
somebody likes somebody, and we know when somebody is not interested in the opposite sex.
Oh yeah,
and
it's great, and I love applying it to my school because everyone is always so surprised, like
especially in like a private Christian
school,
school, knowing the people who are gay, and knowing the people who are
good, want to date. It's like, how the heck did you know that? Or like the people, like sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's like, how did you know that he liked her? And I'm just like, I mean, it was either her or her, and she just started dating some random dude from outside the school.
College algebra.
Yeah. So it's probably her.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, I saw him talk. It's like, these two are best friends. And it's like, I don't know which one he likes. But he was talking to this one for a very long time.
Yeah.
But there's a dance coming up. So he's going to ask the other one.
Yeah.
It's all logic here.
Yeah.
And the guy who I'm talking about knows who it is.
Yeah.
Knows who he is.
But,
Shout out to the most American boy ever, Zachary Alvarado.
Ah, nice. You told me about him.
Yeah.
But, I think that upon noticing this, upon us like having a conversation about it, there's another moment where we're like, oh, we have similar traits in this area.
Oh yeah,
because we're the two high school theater dudes who managed to not like have like a long-term significant other.
Yeah,
and partially because we're not attractive, and partially because we said no to all of the easy ones, and it was like that, and then we were like, no, we're just not interested. We'll do it when we're older.
We'll do it when we feel like it.
Yeah,
it's a time, and it's definitely one of those things where I had like this. I didn't actually have a list, but right before homecoming this year, I was sitting back and it's like, oh, we're hitting the time where people are gonna start asking people, and I was right. In the next 2 weeks, every single girl but like 2 got asked.
Yep.
Because somehow Christ Pep has a very even dispersion in my grade of guys to girls. So it's like almost 1-to-1. So I was like, okay, that person's gonna ask that person, that was gonna ask that person.
Yeah, it's like
I was
Lord of the
right.
Flies, man. It's like
I was right almost every single time. I was like, yeah, it's simple geometry.
simple geometry. All right. I think. How do we close a podcast?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing, is we had a pretty perfect one when we were talking about, yeah, this is what the podcast is going to be. This is what we're like.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we should keep talking.
Because we've covered large parts of our personality.
Oh, yeah.
With this podcast. It's a good introduction.
The next part of our personality is we don't know how to close a podcast.
We have absolutely no clue. So we opened with our opinions don't matter.
Yeah. Our opinions matter slightly less now.
Yeah, now that you know them, you can judge that they don't matter.
You can judge for yourself whether or not anything we say is worth your time.
It's not.
It's not. But if you enjoy our weird sense of humor or nerd stuff, we'll definitely, once movie theaters open again, we'll probably talk about movies that come out.
We will be doing reviews. We'll be doing interviews.
We'll be doing interviews. I mean,
some other things that rhyme with use.
Yo. Were you rapping?
We got some
2 hours
rhymes.
of rapping. No.
We're running out of times.
Most definitely.
Goodbye, America.
Goodbye, America.
Jackson and Duncan.